No, I would not have the way. Oh, that's where that came from.
It was over there.
Did it over there? I thought it from over here.
No, I was sitting over there. It's like,
I heard the thing though, this word is like that.
wait, so now if like people have to go home because of COVID, there's like, still do like the distance learning hybrid thing? No, here's what's gonna happen. So what I'm gonna do for those who end up quarantined is I'm gonna record, which means I'm not running a Zoom session, there's no one logged in. But I'm gonna record and then I'm only posting one of the 4 AP sessions. So the students or the class that the student watches might be different than their actual class, but it's the same content. And so especially on a day like today, which is very class discussion heavy, they can just listen to what happened in class and take notes. And then when it comes to tests and quizzes, they can just, whenever they come back, they can make it up. I'm in my room during lunch pretty much every day. Sometimes on Friday, I get wild and I walk into Starbucks, you know, I'm feeling saucy. But most of the time, or spicy, isn't that what the kids say? I mean, spicy. That's what my daughter says, it's weird. You know. And if you let me know, especially like, hey, Jeffrey's kind of coming on Friday to take, I'm more than happy to stay and sacrifice my sauciness for your grade. So we'll I'll have to be flexible. I'm not reopening Zoom and distance, and like it's not conducive. What happens is I divide my attention between the computer and the in-class students, and everyone suffers. So you guys get a poor experience being here. The people online get a poor experience, and nobody wins. So I'll record one and I'll put it up there, and we'll just have to be flexible. But, you know, I'm sorry that these are the circumstances that we're in. It's just kind of like it's just life right now. So we'll battle through. Okay, so I got a really good question about the summer assignment, which some of you might have been wondering. So I'll address that with all my classes today, because you know I'm sure others are wondering, they just didn't ask yet. Does everybody get full credit on the summer assignment? The answer is yes. Is that an indication that you did a good job on the summer assignment? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. So what I do is you guys turn them all in. I skim them very quickly. I make sure that they meet all the requirements, meaning it met the page requirement. It doesn't look like you wrote nonsense. It doesn't look like you copy and pasted off the internet because you thought I wasn't going to look at it. I just do a very quick scan over it, and then I award you points for it. I am in the middle right now of actually reading them. However, you're not going to get individual commentary on your paper. What I do is I'm creating a list of all the things that I saw among all 4 classes as far as writing problems, and I'm putting together that list, which I will make copies of, and then I'll distribute them to you. And those will be the things that when you write another paper in this class, you need to be aware of those things. So I'm really trying to find the errors that are most like prevalent among all the classes, the things that we can work on, bless you. So why does everybody get full credit? I'll give you my philosophy. Not everybody agrees with me, but whatever, it's my class, so I make the decisions. Let's say this was a PE class and it was an advanced PE class. So you guys were signing up to do a more advanced PE curriculum. That's what you're doing here in English. It's an English class, but you're voluntarily, because there's something wrong with your brain, you're voluntarily taking on more reading and more writing and more discussion. If you come to me as a PE class and everybody runs the mile the first day of class, and a 6-minute mile gets you an A, and a 7-minute mile gets you a B, and an 8-minute mile gets you a C. So 8-minute mile runners start the year with a C, and 6-minute mile runners start the year with an A. In my opinion, that's not really fair, right? It's like you come to me with whatever skills you have, and it's your job this year to what those skills, it starts with an I, improve those skills, right? So for me personally, in my educational philosophy, taking the slower kids and giving them all C's to start the year and giving the faster kids A's, it should almost be the other way around. I would almost want to motivate the 6-minute milers, and so give them lower grades, right, which they would hate, and then give the 8-minute mile runners higher grades to encourage them, because they're obviously their skill level is tied to faster runners. So it's a participation grade. So the grade in Aries isn't going to change. What will kill your grade is we have this quiz coming up on Friday. You took the Grapes of Wrath quiz. If you're missed, there were a few people that didn't do my homework assignment the first day of school. So it's like those things will catch up with you. So I do like to start on a nice note. You know, pretty much everybody starts with an A, but you can wreck that A very, 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 very quickly. So that's just kind of, if you were curious about how that works, that's how it works. Any other questions on that? All right, cool. So what we're gonna do is take your blue index card. On the side that is blank, can you write the first and last name? For favor. Nice and big and legible. And I'll get one for you, Mr. Meadows. Tatiana wants to join my remind. Objective. Then pass them all up, for favor. Now today, the first thing you need to do is grab out the copy of the text from yesterday. The discussion between Rose Sharn and Elizabeth Sandry. Oh, sorry, did great. Fatima, yeah, Fatima, not Fatima, Fatima. No, come. I want to get it right. So it's like, oh man, the emphasis is on the A. Fatima, 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 Fatima. No, I'm not in tune with you. I have to do that in order to like get it in Fatima, Fatima. Accent mark. All right, cool. Today's going to be a mixture of cards, which is what we just did, and then also me calling on people. I was keeping track of people that we kind of already heard from the first week, so I'll be trying to focus on people that didn't get a chance to speak so much yet. Sorry if I call on somebody that's not here, because it's a lot to keep track of because there's so many absences, okay? So the way this is going to start is anything that you noticed in the text. So you noticed a word, you noticed something that seems symbolic, you noticed just like, you can point at something in the text, you can tell me where it is, and you have something interesting to say about it. So I'm not really focused on right or wrong, I'm focused on interesting. Can you find things in the text that are interesting? So we're gonna start off with none other than Miss Ashman. What do you want to point out about the text, my friend?
I thought when Rosemary was talking to her mom after the baby meeting,
Yeah.
and she said you think drop her, not the mom, the dude, whatever it is.
Manager?
Yeah, that guy. He came and he was asking if she thinks like don't drop the baby, because the lady said, I think that was like a big change in like her mindset, because it was before it was like more like, oh, body oriented, like it's gonna come back. And after that, it's more like stressing about if the baby's gonna be okay. And then that like caused a lot of shift in her mindset.
Okay, and where can we like mark where that actual shift occurs in the text? Back of the first page.
And on the right side, fourth paragraph.
Dead and bloody?
He said, I'll drop the baby.
Oh, and the second call? Gotcha. So back of the first page, second column, strode away titanically, her eyes shone, jumped down 3 or 4 lines. She says, I'll drop the baby.
Yes, that.
All right. And Keisha, you're arguing that there's a shift in her priorities from worrying about Connie to worrying about the baby. Okay, cool. That's super interesting. Excellent. I think that stands up. Especially for the rest of this package, she's very much worried about the baby here on forward. All right, cool. Fantastic. Lainey, what did you notice? Back to the first page.
So on the second column, I like dancing, square dancing, and she added virtuously. I never done the other kind. Well, virtuously is used in the context of like Virginia was very virtuous, and she's obviously very much not. So like, I thought it was kind of funny that why he included that word. She's not a virtue. Why would she have virtuously? I haven't been to that.
So what's a word for that? There's almost like irony maybe to her speaking virtuously. Excellent. Anybody else? That's a great start. Anybody else have thoughts on that word virtuously? And she added virtuously. I never done any other kind or that other kind. Yes.
It's like, also we can get information from the people's minds who's focused on how other people perceive her.
Excellent. And she's, by being virtuous, she's whatting herself against Miss Sandry. By being, raise your hand if you know where I'm going with this, by acting, not even acting, but by speaking virtuously, she's whatting herself against Miss Sandry. That's close. She's comparing herself. Keep going. What? You're right. That's even closer. So she's taking on Sandry's ideas, protecting herself. And when you protect yourself, the exact same thing, but it starts with a D, is what? Defending, protecting. Excellent. So by adding virtue, by speaking virtuously, she's defending herself against Miss Sandry, because Miss Sandry is attacking Rose of Sharon's what? Her truth. Okay. Keep going. What are some other words? Her integrity. Absolutely. So this is a time when you just write all these things. You write all these things down as we're speaking about it. So you circle that word virtuously, and you make a note that Rose of Sharon is defending her integrity against Rose of Sharon. She's defending her integrity against Rose of Sharon. So second column of the first page, it says of Rose of Sharon at the top. You jump down to the second paragraph. Rose of Sharon said guardedly, I like square dancing. And she added virtuously. I never done that other kind. You know what else is interesting about that is Rose of Sharon chooses to what of her own volition to this woman? Lie, right? I mean, the woman didn't even press her. Sandry didn't even press her on whether or not there was any hug and clutching involved. And so she's overcompensating. Rose of Sharon is overcompensating for her what? Sin, guilt. And she goes ahead, she takes another step forward to lie about it in order to, I don't know, appease this woman, get her to go away. Now,
Like a good liar. Like I kind of noticed that too.
who is?
Rose of Sharon, because she's just like, she kind of just like says it and it just like stuttering or like body language.
And she doesn't break down until the woman leaves, right? And then she cries to Ma and she says, but I did it, I lied. So I just get this vibe that Rose of Sharon's done a lot of lying in her life. She just seems like kind of a deceitful type of character, but I could be wrong. So just look at that, all that packed into virtuously. You can read this scene a couple of different ways, but one way to read it, and then to think about, what was Rose of Sharon's first mistake in this scene? Rose of Sharon's first mistake.
What the lady said to heart?
Yeah, it starts with an E-N, she what the lady? She's interested in the lady and what she has to say. She E-N, what? Entertained. And when you entertain someone, you interact. And interact is the same as engage. Engage. Did she even engage with the woman, right? How many of you guys have ever been in a parking lot at the mall or somewhere in, maybe you're in San Francisco, in the city, a more dense urban place, and then wacko people want to try to talk to you, right? First mistake is to what? If you engage them, right? It's just eyes forward, and I have a heart for those people, obviously, but it's like if you need to get somewhere, or maybe you're fearing for your safety, eyes forward, don't engage. And she's engaging this woman, and she's mirroring all of these women's thoughts, Now, you could defend what Sandry has to say. I mean, there are people who have these feelings, and they're like, the word on CourseHero.com is religious fanatic. There are people that are they have, fanatic tendencies about their religion, and that's totally fine. But I think the average reader is going to see this woman as a little overboard. And Rose of Sharon is taking all of what she says to heart. So Rose of Sharon isn't protecting herself from kind of all this. To the Joad family, what is nonsense? To the Joad family, this woman is being ridiculous. Okay, so I'm not making any types of claims personally, but to the Joad family, this woman is ridiculous. I would think so, because, we'll get to that. I don't want to give too much away. If you didn't hear the comment, isn't she encouraging this woman to go on and bother other women by engaging with her? And I would say, yes, absolutely. Because I think Sandra's getting what she wants out of this situation, but I don't want to give too much away. I'll save that for another commenter. Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that she like took what she said to heart and she believed that she's actually gonna like have a miscarriage. But then at the same time, she still lied as if she's trying to like protect herself. Like she's taking it to heart and she really believes like, oh my God, I did that, but my baby's gonna die. But she doesn't say that to the lady. She waits till she goes back to mom to say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. What if she had broken down right in front of Sandra? Like, oh my God, my baby's gonna die.
Sandra would have probably really liked it.
She would have loved it. And she probably would have like prayed over her. She probably would have tried to get Satan out of her. It probably would have been a whole, that would have gone real sideways.
Because when the lady leaves, it says that her eyes shone with virtue. Like she was proud of herself. She was like, yeah, I saved a sinner today.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Because what does she do in the camp? She goes around and she keeps what back? What? She is harassing people, but she keeps Satan away, right? And through keeping Satan away, she ends up harassing. I say, get back, get back. All right. Keep it going. Lexi. Yes, Lexi.
Okay, I think along with like what Zachary said, and like she's opening her heart, like to the woman and like freeing and everything. I kind of thought she was very vulnerable, and there's like different little phrases like, and the first page, the second column, like towards the bottom, says Rose of Sharon listened, her eyes and mouth open, and she was just like believing literally everything this woman was telling her like, about the baby and stuff. And I thought she was vulnerable.
Excellent. And where is that line, her eyes and mouth open?
It's second column, like the third one up, third like paragraph.
What does the paragraph start with?
Rose of Sharon listened, her eyes and mouth open.
Gotcha. Yeah, so first page, second column, third from the bottom, Rosa Sharon listened, her eyes and mouth open. Once in school, we did a Christ child play, Christmas. Some of the stuff is hard to read. Well, I ain't saying that's good or bad. These good folks thinks a Christ child play is all right, but well, I wouldn't care. Come right and flat say so.
That's weird. I feel like she said that to appease her. Cause like,
Rosa Sharon?
yeah, I feel like she said that to appease the woman because when like, she's talking about how plays are sinful and whatever. It's like, but I did one about Jesus and being born.
Uh-huh.
So is that bad? And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't care. Like, maybe. I don't know. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah. If nothing else, we can see Rosa Sharon is offering way more information than necessary.
Yeah.
But that's normal. Like when you're scared, you guys ever talk to a police officer and you like say way more than you should because you're just nervous? I don't know. Maybe she's just, her nerves are working against her. Yeah.
I just wanted to add on to what Lexi said. I feel like I'm letting she's vulnerable and also says a lot about how women in that time become educated on what they were doing and it seems to comfort and what was expected of them. Like she's really thinking my baby's gonna die because of this. When in reality, like her mom hasn't like taken the initiative to like educate her to be like that's not possible. Her mom doesn't even say that to her child. So much as gullible as like educating.
So when you read through the novel, Sarai, right? Are you like kind of on team Rosa Sharon? Like you feel like she's a young woman, she's pregnant, she's in this vulnerable situation, like people should cut her breaks.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she really doesn't have much going for her. And, you know, we can't really blame her for like, you know, having all these dreams and situations and all.
Okay. Who else was on team Rosa Sharon? Like cut that woman a break. She's pregnant.
And Connie loved her.
And Connie loved her.
I was really mad when that happened. I was like, are you kidding me? I felt really bad for her.
And what was the context for Connie leaving?
He didn't like living in the migrant camp.
Yeah.
He didn't like the Hooverville camp. He was like, no, I thought I was gonna come here and learn about radios. I'm gonna go now. So I thought that was really bad.
He thought there was going to be radio school in the Hooverville. Like you have the big cardboard, auditorium, and you go in and just listen. Should make light of the situation. Okay. Excellent. Nancy, what else? What's another thing to focus
Those are the two that I have.
on? Okay. Let's go together, Nancy, you and I. Second paragraph. of the first column. Along the road, a stocky woman walked carrying an apple box of dirty clothes towards the wash tub. I personally see two things in there worth noting. What's the description of the woman? Stocky. All right, so we'll circle stocky. That's going to be really important within the entire context of the passage. And then Nancy, what type of box is she carrying? And do any alarm bells go off when you hear about apples? For Nancy, for you personally, yes or no?
No.
Not really. Okay. Who?
I said Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve. And tell us just if we're not sure about all the background. Why do you think of Adam and Eve when you think about apples? Excellent. Yeah. So, you know, the story, I mean, a lot of the novels that we read this year have, or a lot of the poetry we read, there's a lot, there's so much literature, and it goes back to the Garden of Eden. I'm not sure why, but just that's a good story to have in the back of your mind. So the idea is that you have Adam and Eve, and they're in the perfect place, which is called, help me out if you know, Eden, the Garden of Eden. And you can do, the Garden of Eden is paradise. It's perfect. It's like, there's no predators, there's no disease, there's no sickness, there's no spiders. My wife would love it. And everything about it is perfect. And there's only one rule. You can't eat from which tree? Tree of knowledge, and the knowledge of good and evil. So there's one tree in the center of the garden, and you can eat whatever. They got bananas, they got pears. What's your favorite type of fruit? They got strawberry fields. What's your favorite type of fruit? They got pineapples. Where are my avocado people?
Oh, yeah.
They got rows of avocados. We like something really weird, like low quiet peaches. You're a wild woman. Peaches? Jackfruit. Oh, jackfruit is so good. Who's had jackfruit? Oh, it's so good. Anything you can imagine. But there's one thing you don't touch, and that is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that was the one rule of the garden. Well, a snake wanders into the garden, a serpent, and tells Eve, like, dude, just eat the apple. Like, why are you following God's rule? Like, it's such a baby. Like, just give it a bite. And so it's represented as an apple. Eve picks the apple. She eats of the apple. And that's when God is really frustrated with Adam and Eve. And that's why they end up covering themselves, because they feel ashamed. So they used to be, if you've ever seen pictures of Adam and Eve naked in the garden, that was before she ate the apple. Then you see them in the garden with the fig leaves. That was after they eat the apple, because there was no shame in the garden before they ate of the apple. It was just like, it just wasn't even an issue. It's like watching babies run around naked. It's like, there's nothing weird about that. But the older you get, when shame gets introduced into your psyche, when you start to feel shameful, then you cover yourself. Lots to think about. So I don't know exactly, Nancy, what to make of that, but it's worth noting that she's carrying an apple box of dirty clothes. One, who has one theory, if this woman's carrying an apple box, one thing to consider, what's a claim you can make from the fact that she's carrying an apple box? A claim that you could make, yeah. Bingo. So I would put evil question mark. Like, is this Steinbeck telling us that she's a serpent? I mean, because Weed Patch really is a what? It is a paradise. I mean, you get these descriptions of the hot running water. You get the descriptions of the egalitarianism, of the fairness among people, of the dances. Like, really, it's self-governed. Like, everything about it is almost perfect. There are no police officers to harass you. And then you have this, well, she doesn't move like that. She's a big stocky woman. And this comes wandering into the garden. Hooking in a clutching. I seen it. Somebody had their hand up. Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, with the snake thing, we kept, when you said that, like, I had kind of highlighted all the places like feeling described. Because I noticed that Steinbeck, like, every time he describes her, it's like not good.
Show us where some of those are, because I'm curious.
A little shiny black eye.
And where's that at?
That's the fifth paragraph.
Of the first column?
Yeah, the first one, and it's like,
Little shiny black eyes. That sounds like snake eyes.
They're everywhere.
Are
They
they?
describe her eyes everywhere. It's like right after where she's carrying the apple, that part. Same in the same one, and the little black eyes were fierce. Like, it's everywhere. I highlighted all of those because I was like,
I feel like this guy crew is just like round and wrinkled and like the way that she moves too, like a horse whisper, like wanted down or like.
He uses a lot of animal language, like he compares it to an
Yeah.
animal a lot.
Mhm.
But she sounds just very evil and like not, it's like ugly.
Yeah. So if you look at the second column about halfway down, the woman put one brown wrinkled hand. So yeah, the idea of like wrinkled and brown, you think of like reptilian, right? Like snake-like, Gila monster-like.
And then like comparison, I noticed that in the, on like the back, who's on the second, first paragraph, they describe like the as little and like clad, which is like.
Yeah, so we'll get to the discussion of the manager, or we can start it now, but you definitely see the manager in contrast to Sandry, right? He's little, and she's what? She's stocky, big, and then he's little, and there's a description of his lean shoulders jerking as he walks. So almost, I picture like you can see his shoulder blades, just like he's wiry. And then he's dressed in white. And so we know that white is associated with purity. And so he kind of seems like the more angelic figure. She kind of seems like the more devilish figure, for sure, if you look at those details. Okay, let me grab a couple more non-volunteers and then I'll open up to volunteers. Derek, what's another thing you're going to point out for us?
Yeah, on the back page, I think it's interesting that the way Ma like calms down a little bit, trying to like ready to take with her. And she's like a grown pregnant woman, and her mother is still like, I'm a cat, can't you? Don't calm down. I think that's a little bit strange.
You think it's strange?
Well, that makes it a sign of the time. It's unnecessary. I don't know. No one really helps her.
Rosa Sharon.
Yeah.
So you think Ma's a little, okay, controlling? Yep, what do you want to add?
I'll add something. So I caught on to Ma feeding the lie about Connie leaving, because it says on the second page, the first section, you sure he knows we're at to come? Sure. And then later on it says, I wish he'd come. He'll come when he comes. So
Mhm.
Ma's kind of just like, yeah, he'll be back. She's not being straight up. I don't know.
What do you mean by she's not being straight up? Do you think Ma has it from,
I feel like Ma knows the reason why Connie left her. It's obvious. And
what is the reason why Connie left?
he don't want to deal with a pregnant girlfriend.
Sure. Or maybe the baby that's to come.
And Ma is telling her like protecting her feelings. That's what she's doing.
So does that make her a good mother or a bad mother figure?
I think she should. I don't know.
Sit her down and say, you know what? Connie didn't want your baby and he's not coming back. That's what a good mother does?
No.
No?
It's a little on the
What do you think? Yeah, it's tough, right?
I think she should be a tough one. I mean, she's hitting her. Why not tell her the truth?
Yeah, if you're gonna hit your kid, might as well tell them the truth. What good again?
I was just like gonna add on, I feel like Juan should just really like have a talk with her, because we're sharing like the whole mindset is like, when will Connie be back? And even on the second page, it says like, you think Connie will be back today, like that's all she's constantly thinking about. And I think if Juan told her like, he clearly left, like she didn't maybe she knew like why he left, I think that kind of changed Rosa Sharon's like mindset. And maybe start thinking like, okay, it's just gonna be me having this baby and like she'll be good.
Excellent. Okay. Anybody want to defend Ma? Think she's got it going on? Mother of the year? Yeah?
Well, okay, I don't want to defend her, but like, I kind of, and Derek had mentioned, I think she's like trying to be tough, but she's also like, I don't know, I feel like it's this like conversation, there's like, there's a very like real struggle. She's like trying to protect like, Rosa Sharon from like being hurt by Connie, but then she's also trying to like get her to be tough, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna like hit you. So I think she's like being soft and at the end of the conversation, she's like, oh no, I should probably like be tough. And she's like starts saying, okay, just like get back to her.
Yeah.
So like I think you kind of see like this is what she wants to do.
And to defend Ma, do they need the work? Does the family need the work out of Rose of Sharon? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you think so? You think that's what's important? You think Ma wants her to work because the family really, really needs her to sweep up the campsite? I mean, I kind of read it as no. I think she tells her to work because if you're anxious, the cure for anxiety is to do what? to do something, to work, right? So I kind of defend Ma, I don't know about Mother of the Year, but I kind of defend her in that she knows that maybe the only thing that will get Rosa Sharon's mind off of, well, she's met a woman that tells her that because she's sinful, she's gonna drop her baby. Her husband left her. Really, the only thing that she can do is just get your head and grind and just hope for the best. But it's like sitting around and being upset about it isn't going to solve any of your problems. And that applies to you and me and Rosa Sharon and everybody. It's just like being upset and sitting and stewing is not helpful. And you see that motif echoed with, you guys remember the one-eyed man?
Yeah.
The guy that's the one-eyed man and Tom's talking to him and he's like, dude, just like, get over it, basically. And it's like, yeah, I mean, times are tough in Grapes of Wrath, like, get over it. But sitting around and being anxious and being upset, just, it doesn't help you, especially, it doesn't help anybody. Yes, Sarai.
So I'm
And then
still
Mike.
so more having 5 minutes. I just wanted to one book. The Rosa Sharon isn't necessarily in law, like she's like, something that it's just wasn't law. And so like a scene before, after, the uncle's like, I'm the champion. And the mom's like, okay, just take this forward and all that stuff. But she's kind of Rosa Sharon like that out for work. And I feel like that's just so like, tragic for Rosa Sharon. She's like, they're not feeling well, but like, let him in, like, you know, he's all depressed and stuff. Yeah, like, it's hard recommending that, like, he truly needs it and like, regardless, obviously,
Yeah,
but I'll let my daughter suffer.
that's very fair. That's a fair observation. Okay, so strike in the no column for Mother of the Year, for Ma. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go
I
ahead.
can't help that she has to be strong at this period. Because
Ma or Rosa Sharon?
Because if she gives away a little bit, then like, she's kind of what holds up the family. Like she makes hard decisions and the other guys, as the family don't.
Yeah,
Like she has to be strong for the rest of the family. And like she even mentions here, like she's the type of tough love mom. So she even mentions, she says, you're just setting yourself up to cry. Like you didn't hurt anybody. You're not enough to worry God, so you shouldn't worry. But then, yeah, she does mention the fact that she's intuitive, but she kind of has to use like a more tough approach to Rosa Sharon because of how emotional Rosa Sharon is. So it kind of, she has to.
tough love. Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Yeah, Karina?
I think on the opposite end of what I just said, Ma wants Rosa Sharon to be strong because she knows what's expected of her, and she's a mother, and she can't give her any slack because she knows that the rest of the world is going to give her either. You know, after she's done being pregnant or after it's done being obvious that she needs extra help, even though she's not getting it. I feel like Mom's trying to force her to be stronger than, you know, Rosa Sharon thinks she can be, because she knows that she's going to be expected to be stronger than she probably can be at some point in the future. And she doesn't want to like give her slack and let her think that things are going to be easy when they're not going to be, which isn't great, but that's like a sign of the times. Like it wasn't easy to live back then, and she doesn't want Rosa Sharon to get caught up in the idea that things are going to be easy for her, or that she won't have to work when she ever realizes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I mean, Ma probably has in mind, if the baby comes healthy and Connie doesn't come back, Rosa Sharon's a single mother living in the Great Depression. I mean, I can't imagine anything more difficult. So it's like Ma feels like I have to do my best to toughen her up, perhaps. So that's a little extreme. Yeah.
I also wanted to defend Ma in the situation with Sarai. Sorry.
Thank you, Mom of the Year.
I know that you bring up where Rosa Sharon's not feeling well and Ma's being mean to her, which I also think is like really unfair. But, and then bringing up how when Uncle John, I don't remember his name, the uncle, because he was fixing to sin, I feel like giving him that $1 to go get whiskey, I feel like if she hadn't have done that, he would have left. And I know at this point in the novel, her son is gone, her son-in-law is gone, her parents are dead. She doesn't want the family to break up anymore, so she gave him the $1 to get whiskey. So rather than having him like either steal the money or just leaving in a hole.
Uh-huh.
So I think that part is like, I understand why you compare it, but I really don't think it's a great comparison.
Well, it's an impossible situation when you're dealing with a situation like that. Yeah, absolutely. But those are both good. That's a balanced discussion of the argument. All right. You guys okay? 1 and 2, and then we'll move on from this one. Go ahead.
Back to what Tanya was saying, I do agree that Mara's treatment to Rosa Sharon, not feeling well is unfair, but, I do want to point out that, Rosa Sharon even believed, the lady who was saying that just because you dance, you're gonna have a miscarriage. So I think Mom was trying to protect Rosa Sharon from believing that the smallest thing could lead her to a miscarriage, or like, you know, how hypochondriacs, you know, like they believe something is gonna happen even though it's not going to, kind of thing. And so I think she was just trying to protect her like mental well-being and for the child's safety, kind of thing, from like her spiraling and going back into like a depression or something.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, and Derek?
Yeah, I was kind of what Natalie said when she said that Ma gave him the lightsaber. Didn't Uncle John get the whiskey to die? Like, wasn't he trying to die? Was he not? I thought he was telling Tom he was like not.
I didn't read it that way, but maybe
I
it's
think-
in there.
Well, the
It's not
whole
like
novel,
we
he
do.
thought he was a burden on his family.
Yeah,
Because he didn't want to go with,
Yeah, he wanted
be
to.
left.
yeah.
He thought he was a burden on his family. I mean, he thought he thinks he already killed his wife. And then because he feels so bad because he thinks he's killed his wife, he gives gum to the kids, which I think is like a sign of him feeling bad. So I think him not wanting to go with them anymore. It's just like, I don't want to keep burdening you guys. I don't want to keep sinning and like causing a wreckage in this family. I don't want like one of you guys to die because of me. Like, so I understand what you're saying, but I have to disagree with that.
You have a rebuttal? Mr. Meadows, no.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So good discussion on Ma, and she's obviously like, I don't know, man, she might be the central figure. I know there's a lot of time spent on Tom, but she's definitely the core. She's definitely the nucleus of everything that's happening in the novel. All right, we heard from a lot of different people. Volunteers, things to point out in the text. Volunteers, yes. Fatima, how to do?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another comparison is
Sorry, I'm celebrating.
is the appearance, I think. So Ma is described it says, and the old cracked shoes. That's what she's wearing.
Mhm.
And at the end of the passage, it says the committee, the lady committee.
Uh-huh.
It says 3 ladies washed, dressed in their best clothes.
Very last paragraph of the entire passage. Go ahead.
So it's just like the difference of class or dressing, and I don't know exactly what it means, but something like that.
Yeah, you're right. For one, there's 3 pairs of shoes going on, right? So you have the wedding shoes. So I would definitely make a note of that somewhere. Rosa Sharon's wearing the wedding shoes, which is indicative of what character traits? Her naivety, maybe, her sentimentality, her obsession, maybe with Connie, and her impracticality, right? So if I said, hey, we're all jumping in a station wagon and we're gonna drive across the country, if you're wearing high heels, ladies or gentlemen, I'll be like, dude, this would be a tough trip, like probably wearing, and she's not wearing high heels, but wearing decorative, impractical shoes for a special occasion is not really what you should be wearing when you're trying to travel across the country and you're at a migrant camp in Bakersfield. It's just not a good idea. And then what other shoes do we have? You have the old cracked shoes of Ma, and that could signal what? They're old and they're cracked, so Ma's been, she's lived her life, but when shoes are cracked, when they're worn out, that's a symbol that you've been working, and you don't have money to buy new ones. So that's indicative of Ma's character, just workhorse Ma, continuing to work, making do with what she has. So already you see a contrast in character between Ma and Rosa Sharon. And, yes.
I just remember like I feel like he describes shoes a lot, because even in the very beginning, all he describes like shoes, like cheap and new, and I feel like that's kind of like his character, kind of like surface and like he wants like shoes.
Yeah. A lot of shoes in the book, huh? Steinbeck about shoes, hanging out at the shoe store. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then What about Lisbeth Chandry's shoes? Men's brown Oxford. So find that and circle it. It's the second paragraph in the first column of the first page.
So specific.
I know, right? Her face was brown with sun. Her eyes were black and intense. She wore a gray apron made from a cotton bag over her gingham dress, and men's brown Oxfords were on her feet. So her shoes are mismatched. They're the wrong sex or whatever. And Oxfords, I guess, are like, I don't know, dress shoes. I don't know what Oxfords look like. Are they? Dress shoes. Why is she wearing men's dress shoes? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
She's the most fashion forward lady. Yeah, rocking those bad boys. Yeah, Elizabeth Sandry. That's what you're wearing. Yeah, she has good taste. So, I mean, to build a whole argument around this, I don't know if I'm there yet or we're there yet, but definitely something to notice that all three pairs of shoes have been described. I think one argument might be is which women in the camp are fashion forward? The committee. And so that definitely contrasts or juxtaposes Sandry against the ladies committee. And you know how this is all conjecture. It's all me just kind of reading into the text and making things up. But you know, like people that like don't fit into a group or an organization, so they kind of like they trash talk it, like, oh, well, like those people are all like losers anyway, and I didn't want to join their club. And so it's like, if Sandry can't get into the ladies committee, maybe she is trying to really set herself apart from it. But I don't. There's really nothing in the text to support that. That's just kind of stuff. Cool. I think something to notice. What does she call that baby? What is the very first thing? Tumor, live tumor. We're not off. That's the middle of the way of the first column. The woman plopped the apple box on the ground. So if we are to believe that as her being some type of serpentine reptilian creature, got a live tumor, she said. She cackled like a happy hen. Mixed messages there, because what cackles? What class of thing cackles? A hyena. A hyena maybe, or a what? A harpy, excellent.
I said a witch.
A witch, yeah. And all of those things are what? Evil, bad, right? I mean, I don't want harpies in this room, nor do I want hyenas, nor do I want, what was the other thing we said? Witches, none, none. Yeah, the non-evil witches can. So, but then, so she cackled, which I would circle cackle and I would write I'd write the word negative connotation. There's such a negative connotation to the idea of cackling, because it's witches, hyenas. But then like a happy hen, what are hens associated with? Motherhood, right? And there's this idea of like protection and keeping them in their wings and keeping them warm and sitting on the eggs and like mixed messages. I don't know what to make of it. Cackled like a happy hen.
Also, it's a type of irony that's like, it's like a choice where like you purchase the things that you don't have.
Yeah, juxtaposition. Is that, or are you thinking something different?
I think something,
Like
Like
paradoxical?
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure the word will come up at some point this year. And then if you jump down a little further in the shadow, I underline that, just more description of her as this kind of evil figure. A shadow across the woman's face. If you can get work, that's what we all say. My brother got a job this morning. We talked about virtuously. All right, this gets really important. Middle of the second column. The woman put one brown wrinkled hand on Rosa Sharon's knee, and the girl flinched under the touch. You let me warn you now, there ain't but a few deep down Jesus lovers left, and every Saturday night, down that spring band starts up and should be playing a hymnody, meaning a hymn, like a gospel song, praising Jesus. They're a reelin', yes sir, a reelin', and I played a reel for you. I sing them, won't go near them, nor let my kin go near. Kin meaning family. They's a clutching hook. And that would be, if you guys aren't sure, that would be like dancing close, right? That's not like square dancing. That's like 8th grade dance status, right? I tell you, ooh, she paused for what? Emphasis. Emphasis. That's the writer, that's the narrator telling the reader that Sandry's playing a what? A role. She's playing a character, and it's a 4-letter word that starts with a G. She's playing a game, right? When I read it, that's my hypothesis. She paused for emphasis, and then she said in a hoarse whisper, she cocked her head to see how Rose of Sharon would take such a revelation. She's testing Rose of Sharon. Like, can I play this woman? Like, is she, as someone mentioned, is she gullible enough to kind of go along with my game? Yeah.
I highlighted that part where it says she cocked her head to see how Rose of Sharon would react. And I said she wants to get a reaction from people, and then I related that back to where the manager is there, and he's like, "Don't worry, she's a good woman, but she just makes people unhappy because she wants to get a negative reaction from those people."
Excellent.
There's
Yeah.
also a lot of instances where Rose of Sharon is scared of her, so I also highlighted those parts too.
That word unhappy comes up not quite a bit, but it's very important because that's the point of contention between the manager and Sandry. Is like she goes around making people unhappy. So that begs the question, is it always bad to go around making people unhappy? I mean, sometimes it's good to upset the apple cart, but I don't know, maybe in Sandry's case, she's kind of a nuisance. Flip it to the back. And not just a few neither, the brown woman went on. And then she's talking about how you can't count the holy people in this camp. Not even, it's just there's fewer and fewer. Rose of Sharon, what? And before she says has. Panted. What does it mean? Rose of Sharon panted, has. Like she's running out of breath? Like she's taken so far back by Sandry? She's what?
Scared. Maybe she's having like a panic attack.
Could be. Okay, maybe scared, panic attack. Cool. All right. That's a good flyby. Any other things about the language? Yes.
On the list action, I also. So something I remember was like then this little rat I was thinking about how like Tristan was a student. And so here like this woman who's like lecturing like all these people are sinners, but she uses the word down, and I'm just like in my head that's like hurts. So I'm just like this is ironic that she's like going off about sinning and like technically like we sin. So I just thought that was ironic.
Seems a little hypocritical, maybe. She said something really interesting on the back page, first column, dead and bloody. She's talking about dropping the babies. Of course, nobody wouldn't speak to her no more. This is the woman that dropped her baby. She had to go away. Can't touch, it's tech, but can't touch sin without catching it. No, sir. So there's this idea of like, Sandry thinks that, and the book uses sin a lot, but you can just, I know it has a religious connotation. You can just think of it as evil, right? Just evilness, ickiness. Can't touch evil without catching it. So that's Sandry's idea of sin, is that if there's sin out in the world, the best thing to do with all the evil that exists out in the world is just what yourself. To what? Isolate. Excellent, good word. To just isolate yourself from sin. But isn't there a problem in that type of thinking? It's like all this evil stuff is happening. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to isolate, protect myself from it. What's the problem with that type of thinking? Not, well, you can't what with that? You can't help anything, right? You're like, oh my God, there's so many bad things going on. Like, then I have 4,000 cans of Chef Boyardee in my PlayStation 5, and I'm not messing with any of that nonsense out there. So definitely she's got this idea of if you are to engage anything that's icky or evil, you will become icky and evil, which I suppose is true on some levels. But on the other hand, it's like if you don't get out there into the world and try to right the evilness, which is what Tom and Jim are trying to do in the novel, you just won't even really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's like, cool, you protected yourself and you kept yourself holy and without sin, but you didn't really have any effect on the world. You just lived and died, and that was it. So the book makes a very different argument that you have to engage evil, that you have to try to do something in order to right it. Yeah.
But like to contrast that, I feel like the woman or Sandry is actually trying to like combat sin when she's talking to Rose, trying to like in her own way, she's trying to warn her, kind of. I know like she's also playing the game, but like to her, that is what is right and that is trying to help.
Yeah. That's true. That's a good point. So she is out there battling what she perceives to
In
be
her own
evil. In her own way. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, excellent. Yes.
When you're talking about like the touching like sensory, it reminded me of like the whole like leopard like pit. And it reminded me like how,
The leper pit?
well, you know, like, I don't know. in the-
I knew there were colonies and islands. I didn't know there were pits.
I don't know, they, like threw them all into like a pit or island or whatever. And
Sure.
they're like, oh, no one touched them. They're like the sinners or that.
Yeah.
And then like Jesus or Jim was like, oh, I'm gonna help them and go with it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of like, it's so weird because I feel like Steinbeck, every like religious character, he like, he's like kind of bad, like, so, but then like his overall story is like very like biblical.
Interesting, right?
It's really,
It is. Yeah, you're definitely onto something. You're thinking on the right track. All right, cool. So if you have a notebook for this class, I hope you do. Here's what I want you to write down before you go. This will kind of be for what you to think about tonight. So if you could copy these two things down before you go, you have 6 minutes. And then try to answer them tomorrow. We'll try to answer them tonight for tomorrow. The scene that we've just discussed, does it in any way, maybe it doesn't, connect to yesterday's clips? I kind of started this discussion by talking about movie miles. How do you see similarities between this scene and also what happens later in the novel with movie miles? I think that's just an interesting discussion. We already talked about this quite a bit, but really get this nailed down. How did the manager of Weed Patch and Lisbeth Sandry compare and contrast? So definitely physically, we already mentioned that. She's brown and wrinkly. He's white clad. She's big. He's small. So nail some of that stuff down. What do they have in common? Interesting enough, Kylie, right? No, sorry, Megan. Megan already kind of mentioned, Megan got onto kind of what they have in common, I think. And I won't say more about that. I want you to think. And then lastly, how do the manager and Sandry's perspectives on evil, they use the word sin, but I changed it to evil. How are they different? That word contrast. So how do the manager and Sandry view evil differently? And I think this is one of the most fundamental questions that Steinbeck is engaging in the book. I think he's really looking at the nature of evil. And I think that the book engages two different arguments for what evil/sin is. And I think Sandry and the manager both kind of just spell out both of those definitions. And then this is a very tricky question, not your personal opinion. I mean, we could talk about that if you're interested, but within the context of the book, so thinking about the book as a whole, what is the correct perspective on the nature of evil? What's that?
Like, what is Steinbeck arguing? The correct thing?
Yes, the only thing I'll say differently is I don't say Steinbeck, I say the book, because I don't wed the author's views with the book, if that makes sense. So I try to get away from that. Did you guys study the authorial intent fallacy? You guys ever talk about that? It's when you try to guess what the author was thinking when they wrote the book. You don't want to do that. It's not your job to think about what some dead guy thought about when he wrote the book. That doesn't matter. What matters is he wrote the text. We have the text. What does the text help me out? What does the text or say? What does the text argue? So I don't know. If somebody asked me, was Steinbeck religious? And I did my best to answer, but it doesn't really matter because it's not our job to figure out the biography of the author. It's our job to read these pages, put it all together and figure out what this book is arguing. So you're absolutely right. That's one thing I'll mention. Cool. And then other than that, we'll talk about these three tomorrow and then have that quiz on Friday on your radar. The 15 questions on how to read literature like a professor. And then you'll either get the flood, Jim Casey, or California as an essay topic. Any questions? Yes. Oh, my bad. Yeah. Well, thank you for a great discussion. That was
I'm
fun.
sorry, what's the, how do we do the?
There's going to be 15 multiple choice questions on Friday, and they're just over. The questions are just on topics like yes. Did you read all the chapters that I sent you in summer? Yeah, okay, then you'll probably find it.